Hello and welcome to my first attempt at commentating my journey in sim racing during the lockdown at the moment. I hope you are all well and your families and keeping yourselves entertained. And this is my way of burning some hours. Recently managed to get a decent PC together and use my wheel, my coffee table and my beanbag to put something together and actually start to do some proper sim racing. I've come through Formula 1 games, Forza, things like that. This is definitely a step up. And this is my first week really back into single-seaters, which is what I love. I love Formula 1 and these have a bit more kind of bite to them. And this is me starting at the back. I've done some testing, done some practice. You can see I'm keeping it clean, not really pushing too hard. Just avoiding the carnage that happens when you've got to come through an entire field of probably fairly similar drivers to me. This is the Skip Barber race series, so they've set this up as a kind of catch pool for small fry racers like myself who are just starting out, trying to make their way up and learn in a fairly agreeable environment where everyone kind of knows what's what. You don't want to be pissing off a semi-pro or a pro streamer or something that's trying to race, get their license up. Obviously, you do earn a little bit of money. It just really subsidises what you do when you get up to the top of iRacing, but you do end up in positions where you might go for races where you get big prize pots. So people do take this quite seriously. There are TV channels and things based on iRacing. It feels fantastic to use. It feels really accurate. Obviously you can see I took a massive shunt there. The damage you get from things like this, you can really feel it coming through the wheel. You really want to try and avoid that, but first race in, it's not totally unexpected. And I'm kind of getting used to how that damage feels on the car, losing the aero, suddenly everything's kind of wobbly. But the tyres, wow, no tyres there. That's me done in this race. But yeah, different bits of damage, you can kind of feel what it's doing, and I'm still learning kind of when to give up, when to go into the pits, when to keep pushing. Because it's quite a penalty if you get damage and you go in. You might end up needing to be towed in, and then you're sat there for 2-3 minutes losing laps. Only way you're making that time back up is if someone ahead of you has had worse incidents than you, or has been in a worse place on the track to be recovered, just like it would be in real life. So really, you just do not want to have anything go wrong at all. It's not an arcade racer. You can't make that time up anyway. You can't throw a turtle shell or a banana out. Like that's you done. Your goose is cooked. So we're into kind of second race, I think here. Doing a little bit better, challenging a bit more, backing out of that. Don't really want to take too much penalties at this point. The ultimate goal for this week was to kind of learn single seaters again on the new game, and to kind of progress my license. I'm in C class is the next one up. I'm in D, so I'm out of rookie, but for every crash, for every spin, you get points on your license for your safety rating. Goes up and down. Can be permanent if you're constantly crashing into other cars. You can just be banned, and you have a permanent license, so you're not coming back. Yeah, they do take it quite seriously. So fastest way is just to keep it clean. So until I'm reasonably comfortable with myself, my plan is to just stay out of trouble. Things like that don't help. It's not affecting anyone else. I'm still getting points for loss of control and contact, but I've lost a place, so that's not points on my license, but it's putting me into a worse ratings category. Again, when you get up against other people racing, and it's kind of working on those categories, you're just more likely to be put with drivers that are going to cause you problems. So yeah, lost it again there, out onto the grass, pushing too hard, off my line, things like that, all adds up. I'd started quite well. I was in third place, and I was losing places and time there, and that ultimately, I've gained a few more there. But at the end of the race, I think I lost third place to fourth, with kind of like a second to spare. So if I'd not had one of those points of contact, I probably would have saved that second and retained the place. So you just can't tell. At the end of the race, all of those things come together, and that's the time that you've taken. So you've got to really focus the whole time, and that stamina is something that you grow, and that's something I'm learning as I'm going through this. I mean, these are 40-minute races, 30 minutes if you're really nailing it, but that's a long time to be concentrating for split-second decisions with a wheel that's actually mechanically fighting you the whole time. So there is a little bit of fitness in there. I use a Logitech G920, so it's not belt driven, that it is gears and cogs, so it feels a bit harsher, a bit more mechanical, which I quite like, and it's a reliable wheel. It takes my punishment, so I would recommend it, and it's reasonably priced as well. Wheels obviously can go up to kind of thousands and thousands of pounds just for the hubs and the pedals. So if you are looking to get into it, kind of, I would say it's worth starting in a good place, at the bottom end of the scale, until you kind of get to know what you like. That's a big crash there. Not much I could do about it. That's kind of everyone. Just, yeah, I don't think many people at the front escaped that one. Those are annoying if you've done well, if you've placed well at the beginning of the race, because it's not your fault. But as a performance marker, at least you walk away angry, but you're just like, at least I didn't make the mistake. At least I didn't put 40 minutes into a race and make a stupid decision. Those are harder to kind of walk away from. So, yeah, at least everyone else kind of went with me. So I think I managed to pick things up. Still kind of got comparable pace to those around me. So it's probably more aero damage that I've just taken. It's going to make stopping quite difficult, but still, people are in silly season there, all seeing the smoke and trying to make up places. Can be a good thing if you've got no damage, but obviously I have, so I'm taking it pretty careful, and that's paid off there. Gained a place back. He's just moved into my braking point, which is really annoying, so I've gone wide. Otherwise I probably would have gained a bit of time on him there. And then, yeah, just a bit later around the lap. Getting the place back. Getting the power down early into these big curves really makes a big difference if you want to overtake. And then, yeah, just keeping it clean, hoping he doesn't take me out through here. Typically, the nice thing is people on iRacing tend to be quite forgiving, and they will give room unless something like this happens, and then bang, yeah, end of the race. Again, not entirely my fault, but I did it. Those split-second decisions, you've got to be able to whip the car out of the way without even thinking. You see races like the Formula 1 race with Max Verstappen in the wet in Brazil, having some crazy spins and just snapping the car back into position at like 200 miles an hour. It's just, yeah, at that point, he's not thinking about that. It's just pure instinct, and that's really what your bread and butter is when you're a racing driver and you want to be in the top kind of tier of performance. So I'm not quite there yet, but I'm making progress. I'm starting at this point, so it looks like I'm not doing too well here. I'm in position 9th from the start, but actually looking at qualifying before the race, I was doing pretty decent lap times, doing about 133s on average here. Beginning of the week I was doing 136s, so I was close to the pace of the field, but they were just a bit quicker. People behind me hadn't actually set any lap times, so that means one of two things: they got a bit unlucky, they just scrubbed a lap and went off the track, or they actually didn't even make it round 6 minutes of qualifying, which can be quite worrying if you've got that all piling in behind you in the first corner. But so far, luckily, I managed to keep it steady. Pretty sure here that I've got the number of this guy here. They're all a bit slow, but here is something you really don't want to do. Those big blue curbs, they're massive, and with the loose suspension that these cars have, these Formula 2 cars, because you've got the embankment, it's got to be quite loose, and that just really sends you flying. Puts a stamp on it and sends it, as they say. But yeah, still managing to kind of cut through the field. But yeah, bit of a messy race, tough crowd to race against as well. So I was quite happy with my performance for the most part. But difficult to make headway when everyone's doing quite similar lap times, and if there's no major crashes like we've seen in some of the other races. So this guy is kind of brake checking me into corners that he really shouldn't need to, which kind of says to me he doesn't think he can beat me on pace, which means I can probably take him if I find the right spot. But got to be careful. I don't want to put myself in a position where he's going to turn into me, or anything that he can do can touch me. That's the ideal, but sometimes you can't avoid it, like there. And that's, if I'd been on the outside, that's probably the only way I could have got around that. But yeah, just straight across the track, it's pretty difficult to avoid. I've got a broken suspension here. First time I've had that, so I didn't really know what I was feeling until I got to that corner, and then yeah, one wheel up in the sky. Unfortunately took another guy out there as well, so that's bad for him. But yeah, the damage is pretty accurate and you can really feel it, so learning what to do with it, how to recover it, getting back to the pits is quite important. You really don't want to be a long way around the track, otherwise if you do have to stop and tow, that takes a long time, and you are just sat in a pit box with nothing going on, watching the laps go by, and that's pretty much end of race if that happens. So this was my Sunday race, the end of the week, best I've done. I needed this race to get me into C class. Started second. This guy, yeah, I was a bit kind of cautious on the start. He went for it. Bad place to go for it. I was inside of the racing line, going around a corner, centrifugal force. There is nowhere else he was going. So not entirely my fault there. Wasn't too worried about that. This guy, little kiss on the back wheel, that could have punctured a tyre, so very lucky it didn't, but it's made me a bit wary of him, so I'm staying well clear. I can also see in the mirrors these guys fighting behind me, so pulling over to the right, I'm just not going to get involved. I'd rather take a lower place, but as it happens, they're all in silly season. It's the first lap of the race, I think, still, so yeah, that was that. Cleared out my competition, or they cleared themselves out, and it's just the guy in front, which it turned out we were on pretty similar pace. As you can see there, I just fast forwarded it. There was nothing else happening. It was pretty boring, which is what you want if you want a good clean race. So yeah, finished second, started second, and that put me into C class, and that was my first week. So thank you for watching. Hope you find these interesting. If you're into sim racing, do keep watching, and I'll keep posting them. If there's anything specific you want to ask or share any advice, do hit us up on Instagram.